Hey everyone, how's it going? Azrin here, owner of the Calgary Language Nerds, and welcome to another Learn Gujarati with me YouTube video and, of course, podcast episode. We're going to do something a little bit different today. It's going to build off of what we did yesterday. So, yesterday I made a podcast and video doing a comprehensive review of Gujarati grammar. And so today we're going to do some grammar practice in the form of short sentences. So let me share my screen and we'll dive right in. By the way, my microphone is dead today, so there's no microphone for today's lesson. Okay, let's make the font a bit bigger and let's do a little bit of practice. So we'll start with some simple sentences. We'll start in the present tense and we'll build into other tenses as time goes on. So again, the present tense, we use this for actions happening right now. We also use it for general facts and truths, and then we also use it for I would call it habitual actions. That's a good way to put it. So let's look at some examples of how this might look. So let's take something really simple, like who cow chu, and actually I'll write for today. I'm just going to write in letters like this. I won't write in the Gujarati script. So who cow chu, I am eating. Yeah, I'm eating. Very, very easy. So as a reminder, in the present tense, the general rule of thumb is that let's actually highlight this in blue. So the general rule of thumb is that we're going to have an u at the end of our verb and then a chu. So I'll give you another example. Who kam garu chu. Again, here's our verb. Make that blue, right? And this means I am doing work. Or in layman's terms, I am working, of course, right? I'm working. Hu kam karu chu. And so that's usually how that would work. So if we take another verb, I'll give you a verb, and you tell me if you're able to make a short sentence with it. And you can say it in who, okay? So we'll use the who form for the sentence. So let's look at something simple. Let's give you a verb like vanshvu. Vanshvu means to read. So how would you say something like I am reading? Feel free to pause this video, pause the podcast, and think on it. The answer would be hu vanchu, hu vanchu chu. Again, we have this u and chu at the end, hu vanchu chu. Now you might be wondering, Azran, hang on, something's not really clicking here. Where did the vu go? In vanch vu, it means to read, as in, like, for example, I like to read. Right here we have to read. I would say mane vanchvu game che. Right, this vanchvu here means to read. So, like, how did we go from vanchvu to vanchu? How the heck did that happen? Well, it's pretty easy. We're gonna delete these last two letters pretty much every time when we're working in the present. Actually, every time when we're working in the present tense. So we have vanch, uchu. I'll give you another one. Let's try, for example, I don't know. Let's do lakhu, to write. So if you're going to say, I am writing an email, how would you say that? I'm writing an email. Feel free to pause, think about it. The answer would be, so remember, first step, we're going to take away this vu, right? We get rid of that. We're left with lak. Then we're going to add u chu. So it'd be hu, lakhu, chu. Hu, lakhu, chu. Easy peasy. Hu, lakhu, chu. So easy, right? Okay. So what about if we're not going to use the word who? What if it's going to be like tame? Tame means you, right? So I want to say something like, let's say I want to ask you a question. I ask you a question like, what are you reading? How would we say something like that? Feel free to give it a try on your own if you want. Feel free to pause and think about it. Let's actually make it writing. What are you writing? There we go. Tame shu lako cho. So we still get rid of this VU. We're still left with lak, right? We're still left with that stem. But instead of u chu, we're going to have o cho. Tame su lako cho. Tame su lako cho, right? Tame is you, shu is what, lako cho is, well, writing. You are writing. Shu is often pronounced as su. The letter H, I mentioned this in yesterday's video, that the letter H in Gujarati is more often than not, it is, well, not more often than not, it is frequently dropped. Frequently, the letter H, we don't pronounce it. So many people will say su instead of shu. Very, very common. Let's do another one here. Let's do, for example, what are you, let's do, what are you eating? What are you eating? So give that a try. Feel free to pause. Tame shu kao cho. Right. So again, we have kavu, which is up. We didn't actually write this. Let's put it up here. Kavu, to eat. We get rid of those last two letters. We're left with the stem ka, right? For tame, we add an o cho. So tame su kao cho, right? Tame su kao cho. What are you eating? Pretty straightforward. Let's do, in fact, I can even, let me just copy paste something directly into this document. It'll be slightly faster. I'll pause the recording so you don't have to watch me go dig around to find a table. So I'll pause this and we'll be right back. Okay, and we're back. So here's a table I've inputted for you into this document here. This is a nice summary looking at how does this present tense work with a whole bunch of examples. So if it's I, we already know that we have these u chus, right? So hu, in fact, I almost want to like move this over like this in a way, actually. I kind of like that in a way. No, I don't like it, actually. No, let's leave that like this. So for example, like hu, bolu chu, right? Hu chalu chu, hu doru chu. So I talk, I walk, I run, I write, I do, I sleep, I listen, I'm learning, right? For tu, excuse me, for tu, this is the, let's do tame first, actually. Let's move this up, right? For tame, which we already saw, we have o cho, bolo cho, chalo cho, doro cho, lakho cho, karo cho, etc. For tu, which is an informal you, we have e che, tu bole che, tu chale che, tu dore che, tu lakhe che, tu kare che, tu unge che, tu sambre che, tu sikhe che. For he and she, again, e and che, same as tu, so it's the same, it's exactly the same. And for they, we have e loco, or the actual technical word is teo, but frequently when we're talking, we tend to say e loco. Same thing, bole che, chale che, etc., etc. So if you notice here, the you informal, tu, the he and she, and the they, they're exactly the same. There's no difference in the conjugation rules. Bole che, bole che, bole che, chale che, chale che, chale che, dore che, dore che, dore che. It's the same, right? And lastly, we have ame or apre, depends on the context. Bolie che, so this is our suffix, ie, bolie che, chalie che, dorie che, lakye che, karie che, ungye che, sambharie che, sikye che, right? That's usually how that looks. Okay. So there's a lot of ways you can practice this on your own. Lots and lots and lots of ways. Probably the easiest way is just to try and write out some practice sentences, and you can have a family member correct them, or a friend, family member. That's the lovely thing about Gujarati learners, is that most Gujarati learners know someone who speaks the language fluently. So you can just write some practice sentences in the present, Here's a bunch of different, oops, here's a bunch of different words you can work with, right? There's a whole bunch here. So bolvu is to talk, talvu is to walk, dorvu is to run, lakvu is to write, karvu is to do, ungvu is to sleep, sambharvu is to listen, shikvu is to learn. Feel free to take notes as you're watching this and listening. So write some practice sentences and show them to someone you know and get them corrected. And another way you can practice as well is I have a limited number of spaces for private lessons. So if you do want to work with me in private lessons, I'm always happy to practice things with you like this as well. Okay. And so let's you know what? That's actually a good place to end today's video. I was going to do a whole bunch more practice, but actually maybe we can just leave it for the present today. And maybe maybe another day we can do practice for another tenth. So yeah, let's leave that there. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.